Hello, this is Akram Ketter, and I'll be presenting this presentation, uh, apparmor and HTTPS. This is by Akram Ketter. All right, next slide. So apparmor is a mandatory access control system, which is a kernel enhancement to confine programs to a limited set of resources. AppArmor security model is to bind access control attributes to programs rather to users. AppArmor confinement is provided via profiles loaded into the kernel and typically on a boot. AppArmor differs from some other mandatory access control systems on Linux. It is a path-based. It allows mixing of enforcements and complaint mode profiles. It uses users include files to ease development, and it has a far lower barrier to entry than other mandatory access control systems. All right, next slide. So these are some hard things that you could do. Disable an AppArmor security profile. This could be very helpful when troubleshooting if an issue is caused by apparmor or some other component. The command you can use for this is AA-disable and set apparmor security profile to complaint mode. In this mode, security policies are not enforced, but rather access violations are logged into the system log. It is recommended to use the complaint mode when testing out a new profile. And the command you use for this is AA, all lowercase, dash complaint. Alright, next slide. And the third hardening is enforce mode. AppArmor security profile from being in disable or complaint mode. And the command you could use for this is AA-enforce. Alright, next slide. So HTTPS and IIS. HTTPS verifies the identity of a website or web service for a connecting client and encrypts nearly all information sent between the website or the service and the user. Protected information includes cookies, user agent details, URL paths for submission and query setting parameters. HTTPS is designed to prevent this information from being read or changed while in transit. Next slide. Alright, so continuing off of that, HTTPS uses a secure socket layer to ensure secure transmission of files, documents, credit card information such as PIN over a network. Internet Information Service is one of the most popular web servers for Microsoft that is used to host and provide internet-based services to ACP.NET and ACP web application. A web server is responsible for providing a response to requests that come from users. When a request comes from a client to a server, IIS takes the request from the user and processes it and sends response back to users. Next slide. Okay, so this is some hardening tips. Configure HTTPS request filtering option. The URL scan functionality is now built right into the IIS and should be configured appropriately. Potentially harmful HTTP requests are prevented from reaching the server through a rule-based filtering. These options are critical for mitigating threats like SQL injection. Incorporate the second hardening we're going to do is incorporate URL authorization in your application. URL authorization grants access to URLs within the IIS application based on usernames and roles as opposed to server or system accounts. This makes it easier to restrict content based on a group membership. URL authorization rules can be associated with a server, site, or an application. Okay, next. Okay, continuing, this is the third hardening we're going to do is use dynamic IP restriction. Dynamic IP restriction uses a request IP address and a domain name to determine whether or not to restrict access. This is essentially a whitelist of allow unlisted that is IIS uses to prevent unauthorized access. In a case of brute force or denial of service attack, the dynamic IP restriction module can temporarily block IP address making unusual requests. So this prevents any type of, like I said, brute force attacks and denials of service attacks. Okay, next slide. Okay, now we're going to the Apache for HTTP. Apache is a popular open source cross-platform web server that is, by the numbers, the most popular web server in existence. It is actively maintained by the Apache Software Foundation. That's the company. Its job is to establish a connection between a server and the browsers of website visitors, Firefox, Google Chrome, Safari, or any other web server you use, etc., while delivering files back and forth between the client and server structure. The Apache software is also compatible with any operating system, from Windows to Unix. Next slide. Okay, so hardening. Keep updating Apache regularly. Apache developer community is continuously working on security issues and releasing its update version with a new security option. It is always recommended to use the latest version of Apache as your web server so you don't miss out on any of the updates that they make, and that will help you be secure. Okay, disable unnecessary module. It is always good to minor or reduce the chance of being a victim of any web attack. It is recommended to disable all these modules that are not in use currently. You can list all the compiled module of web server using the following command: mod underscore imap or module underscore user directly, all lowercase. And to disable the particularly module that you're looking for, you could insert a hashtag at the beginning of that line and restart your service. Restart the service. Okay, next slide. All right, limit request size. So by default, Apache has no limit on the total size of the HTTP request. Unlimited, and when you allow large requests on a web server, it is possible that you could be a victim of denial of service attack. We can limit the request size of an Apache directive by using limit request body with the directory tag. Okay. Alright, so that'll be, and this is citations. So all the websites I use, HTTP SEO, and that's it.